Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we are discussing political polarization versus democracy. Political polarization is quite a hot topic today and under discussion in very talk shows as well as different debate arena where we are discussing multiple type of political polarization that are erupting on our political surface across the country and how it is dangerous and how it is help to beneficial for the political surface, what should be and what should be not. We will discuss in detail and hopefully everybody will know the deep understanding regarding this at the end of this video. So political polarization versus democracy. Political, we will discuss is all the issues challenges of democracy in a. I try to basically organize my video in a paper pattern, so try to summarize all the point in a sequence so everybody can easily understand the points. So without wasting our time, we'll try to move forward. So first of all, political polarization, issues and challenges of democracy in Pakistan. So I try to summarize all the political polarization surface polarized politics into a paragraph and thesis statement. The fragmentation of public into different divergent groups based on ideology is a matter of double-edged swords. Healthy polarization is the lifeblood of democracy, while toxic or too much polarization is threat to democracy. Contemporary polarization in Pakistan based on nationalism, religious grounds, dynastic political elite, and ethnic group has pushed the nation on several extreme ends. Aftershocks of this division resulted into violation of constitution, judicial undermining, stubborn political stance, economic breakdown, and violent society, and also its ramification. In fact, too much political segregation compromised the norms of democracy, corroded its structure, and shaped a vulnerable entity. So just a rapid reading of the paragraph is not enough. We have to understand certain basic concepts of polarization. So basically what happens when the polarization is basically the fragmentation or segregation of the political groups on the basis of ideology on several extreme ends. So everybody take a certain position and you another person that have certain ideology and he also take an extreme position. So first we categorize polarization into two categories. First, healthy polarization and toxic polarization. Healthy polarization mean a very minor polarization or not too much, where we have two party system or three parties maximum. We don't have more than that. So in such polarized state, obviously differences are the lifeblood of democracy. When you have in a conflict, you exchange the ideas, you debate on it, you come forward for debate on media and several other forums. So brainstorming on certain issues obviously are fruitful and the main part of the democracy, that freedom of speech. So it polarization is very beautiful and a very good thing when it is in a healthy sense. So but when polarization start from the top and reach till the bottom, that every surface, every sector and every province is polarized into several segments, into ethnic groups, and then the political status on the political surface. So it becomes too much dangerous. And how can these groups erupt and how polarization come forward, their causes behind it and their aftershocks, and what could be the solution to minimize such polarization on the political spectrum. So we will discuss in detail. First of all, I discussed here that how toxic polarization and healthy polarization, and then what are the grounds on which polarization happen. It can be on nationalism, religious ground, dynastic political elite, ethnic groups. So multiple types of polarization root cause, and such division then resulted into several aftershocks or several aftermaths, ramifications: constitutional judicial undermining, constitutional violation, stubborn political stance, economic breakdown and violent society, and political segregation, compromise the norms of democracy, corroded its structure, and shaped a vulnerable entity. So here we will discuss that how these polarizations happen and what are the root causes behind it. The roots of the polarization in Pakistan, first of all, we can discuss religious. Religious parties are on the surface that are using religious card for their short term and sometimes long term benefits. We can easily understand everybody have its own perspective and can easily understand that the certain parties I mentioned some of them: TLP, Jamaat Islami, Mutahida Majlis Amal. So these are the parties that are mainstream parties, religious parties, and gaining religious momentum on the basis of teachings and preachings of Islam. They are gaining a political momentum. So the second is the identity based. Identity based means when any political party claims that he has his own distinct structure or name or their ideology on based on the language, their culture, their speaking style, their certain kinds of norms. So it is basically identity based polarization, like I discussed as example of Mutahida Qawmi movement. Mutahida Qawmi movement is basically Mahajar party. So they are identity of they have Urdu speaking people. So and then I discussed PMLN and PM Pakistan Muslim League also. So these are also because they have certain ideology, and PPP, they are quite left wings parties, and they have ideology of left wings. So ethnicity based, BAP, Balochistan Awami Party, and this is same Sindh United Party, Hazara National Party. They are basically ethnic group based parties. So nationalism based, Pak Sarzamin Party recently in the that are using the keywords of nationalism, that Pakistan and certain everybody, nationalism is a such kind of perspective. Everybody can manipulate this concept, that how can it be, it not, we cannot specifically tag this label with any specific country. I just mentioned here because recently his name is also in such kind of nationalism based, so we try to put here. Otherwise this kind of nationalism can be manipulated by any party. Left wing People Party, right wing is this is also I already discussed on identity based, and severally again we can discuss this separate level at also in term of secular or liberal and conservative school of thoughts, that polarization based on the liberal point of view and conservative also. So what is the psychology of polarization, that how polarization happened and when such type of polarization happened. So what happened in the minds of the people, and what kind of reaction we face in the society. Basically the polarized psychology is the because the polarized fabric, polarized division, every person from have as a very committed association with certain party, and he try to negate other person in very angrily and very criticize deeply without listening his point of view, and without cross questioning is not a part of this kind of debate. Motivated and prejudiced mindset come forward that further stimulate intolerance, extreme positions, and such people have selective exposures. They don't pay any attention to the other channels, other school of thoughts. They just keep brainwashing himself by its own, and trying to put yourself in a certain type of framework where they can easily get their information and try to satisfy its inner soul. So basically at the end of the day, the polarized person is more motivated, prejudiced, intolerant, and overconfidence. And the second person is the causes of polarization. What happened. So first of all is a partisan media, Obviously, we can see it in Pakistan national fabric, where the geo and polarization of ARY is quite apparent. Weaponization of weapon of nationalism and religion. Nationalism, when we talk recently, Imran Khan took a stand of conspiracy myth. So conspiracy happened. We can discuss in detail. So here we can just take it very superficial manner. The conspiracy, his all types of political gatherings, power show are on the base of one single agenda, that conspiracy. Whatever the economic deterioration happened, political instability, what kind of social deterioration happened, everybody forgotten that, and he is just saying one thing in every gathering, that conspiracy, conspiracy, and he is using this weapon. So again, conspiracy happened or not, we can discuss in a daily in separate lecture, or another separate session. If anybody have any confusion, he can discuss in the comment box also regarding that. So don't need to be hyper and polarized. We are discussing this, be tolerant and be debatable with each other. National integrity, it is erupted from the conspiracy myth. And third is the populist stance. We need to understand this concept, populist stance. What is populist stance? Populist stance, basically the populist leader try to use the certain kind of prejudices, complexities of of their public, and try to hit those sensitive points where people have no where people demand no logic. They just put their enthusiasm on head, and try to blindly follow the things. So this kind of the stance the populist leader leads, they put they pinpoint certain sensitivities, they argue in front of them that we are against the status quo, we will let down them, we will push down the political elite, we will try to smash and bash everything, which is completely impossible, where because in certain circumstances where they are claiming such types of things, they are also building a same type of party which is have all that of fields that he discussing and opposing the other parties. So such type of populist stance, which is quite apparent, was the Donald Trump government, where Donald Trump is a common popular populist leader, and recently Imran Khan is also labeled like that. So, and the fourth point is distortion is history and Qaid concept of state. Qaid concept of state, we have discussed, many authors discussed this in very detail, like Aisha Jalal, and as well as Maliha Lodi, and several other authors try to crude this point of view, that we have distortion history in our textbooks, where the certain kind of touted concepts of Islam or compulsive views of Islam is explained, that the Islamic Qaid strived for the Islamic state of Pakistan, where the threat, is kind of theocratic state, which is completely out of mind, and when you have a deep understanding of history, so such type of things we can elaborate here. So because distortion of history played a very vital role in changing the mind. And the fifth point is obscurantism. So basically, what is obscurantism? When I have certain type of point, like if for example I discuss that the conspiracy myth, if I put it as my agenda, then I will try to, rather than going on facts, figures, investigation, detail, and deep analysis, we just put agenda and try to throw the knowledge around this conspiracy, that how it happened, what was the purpose, what, and try to manipulate this concept, and throw a lot of extra knowledge which has quite irrelevant with the concept, the conspiracy, and people get involved in such that types of matters, like different type of slogan raised, gulami kabul nahi, and certain types of such information appeared on the surface, that the original idea, the real thought, the real purpose completely disappeared. And when you throw a lot of extra knowledge that is quite irrelevant, then the real thought disappeared. So this is the phenomena is obscurantism. fake statistics of development and superficial analysis. This is also happened in the when a political government let down or toppled, then he claims that these have certain types of remarkable economic indicators in their when he left the governments. So and try to explains just specific points, very superficial analysis, don't try to explain in a holistic manner. So this type of things happen everywhere. So what are the impacts? I can just rapidly moving through the this thing, everybody can easily relate it. Legislative deadlock, no consensus, debate, political bargain, that is currently going on in our political system, that PTI have taken a hard stance and other parties are also on other the pool. Nobody is ready to bargain a political settlement or any kind of deadlock on. So legislative deadlock appeared on the surface. Personal agenda driven politics. Personal agenda driven politics is also quite apparent. Imran Khan is doing that he has put his own agenda everywhere, and he is trying to he nowadays is trying to using his the weapon. And similarly on the other hand, they are also doing that they take over the government just for their own motives, like to turn reforms to obstruct the way of election reforms, as well as new army chief selection or certain types of things. I just giving a clues of certain extra things that you can relate them for better understanding. So these types of things also happen in a polarized state. And horse trading, which is a culture in a senate election, and vote of no confidence, everybody can easily relate with it. Violation of constitution happened several times after this polarized political politics, but it is quite apparent in the form of the recent deputy speaker rulings, which the supreme court gave a very strong rebuttal to that verdict, that it is quite unconstitutional remarks by the deputy speaker and completely nullified the verdict. Religious big judicial undermining. So quite in response of that violations, when in a political state, polarized state, where the populist leader on the stake, and he obviously undermine the judicial institutions, do not try to he because he has a mindset that he is completely right and the remaining all are wrong. So even Nawaz Sharif or Sabaz Sharif or People Party, when they are completely on the extreme poles, they try don't even show any legacy with the judicial institutions or the respect for them. They try to criticize them in direct and indirect manners. Religious bigotry in political arena. So religion is a common use of practice to gain political gain in our political system. Vulnerable democracy and military interventions. Vulnerable democracy, obviously when this side of political turmoil is going on, so third party can easily take over the government. Biased media, and biased media is also already discussed. It is also a cause and impacts also that media does not remain free and fair after that. Populist leaders gain momentum. So different populist leaders are those that use their agenda on basis on nationalism, ethnicity, and every types of agenda to use the prejudice, different types of people prejudice and their complexes, their religion, to gain their desired goals. So this type of leaders are also very dangerous. So all political power shows going on. So it happened. PTI gatherings and demand of election. Threat to security and pluralism. It is also quite obvious and quite that when the state is totally polarized, so how can be the center can be strong? So it is completely evident that it will be a danger. Political victimization, everybody put on cases on other case against opponents. When you are in a government, he filed a case for another party, and when he is in a government, and so it blame game is going on both way. Marginalization of minorities also happened because when the state is too much polarized, very minute sectors that have don't representation a significant reputation on the mainstream, so they are neglected with the passage of time. So economic aftermaths, when agenda-driven politics are going on, then short-sighted economic approach is adopted, which is and no debate on economic footsteps, which is completely fracture our economies. Social intolerant, violent society, abusive language, no power, no respect, inflation, poverty, trust deficit on political system, extremism, and radicalization happened. So all you can easily understand these points. Way forward. What is the way forward? First of all, political garden debate and consensus coalition is important, because in such polarization state, the wise politics can only political person can handle the situation through coalition, through debate, through open debate in the parliament, through open debate on the media, through investigation of the facts, to to put all the stakeholders on the board. So supremacy of constitution, no compromise. Constitution is always supreme. Nobody has any right in any situation to let down it, so it should be supreme. Check on media should be under complete check and balance. Freedom of speech, freedom of expression is a right, and everybody has it. But when the polarized state happened and bifurcation of the media happened, so it disastrous for the people, and especially for the layman person who has done such research to investigate the matter and online access to the media. So certain kind of check and balance to keep the mainstream media on the right direction is important. Education and political awareness, which is education is the solution of every problem, because it is develop consciousness, critical thinking, as well as your mind building. Unbiased judicial system, judicial judgments that are also important, that strengthen the progress of the accountability, which is a dire requisite of the democracy. Zero tolerance against violence. If any violent group appear on the surface, so state should act as zero tolerance against him. Consistent economic policies, don't be a short-sighted for election waiting policies, but they are consistent economic policies to strengthen and forecast certain pinpoints to untap the resources for long-term projects should be built on. Open media debates and freedom of speech is the quite efficient thing to put understanding in the minds of people that they are completely going to build a tolerant state where they have quite efficient sense of room for each other. So basically it was the overall view of the polarization. And I try to explain in the context of Pakistan also, and try to pinpoint certain incidents, certain persons, certain parties. So hopefully everybody has built some very little kind or more than kind of that understanding. So how political polarization happened, the root cause, and what there is impacts on the political and social as well as economic surface, and how can we mitigate this effect. So again at the last, खुश रहें, जहाँ भी रहें खुशियाँ बांटते रहें, और दुआओं में याद रखें. Check the CSS PMS. शुक्रिया, thank you very much.